thank you, the Honorable Justin Chachenko, Minister for National Event, for being a wonderful master of ceremony in this rather very sad moment. Governor General of Papua New Guinea, His Excellency Sir Bob Dadai and Lady Dadai, the opposition leader of Papua New Guinea, the Honorable Brother Nama, all ministers of state, all members of parliament, all governors of our provinces, and I just want to pay special mention to the Vice President and the Speaker of the House of Assembly from the Bougainville House of Representatives, as well as the leaders from the Bougainville Autonomous Region for your presence here this afternoon. Let me also acknowledge all members of the diplomatic missions in our country. Thank you for your presence. Secretary and Mr. Kamalio and all Secretaries of State and Departmental Heads, Commander of the Papua New Guinea Defence Force, Commissioner of the Royal PNG Constabulary, our Commissioner of the Correctional Service Institution, all invited guests, dignitaries, people of Papua New Guinea, lastly but not the least, to the family, the children, dear Mama, as well as all friends, relatives, and associates of the Honorable Sam Basil, our country's Deputy Prime Minister. It is rather with profound sadness that I take this time to address our nation. We never imagined that this moment would dawn on us. And since his passing last week, Wednesday, many words have been spoken, many tears have been said and are still being said today as we speak. And it will be for a while our country and our people and the families and friends who've lost and feeling the loss of our Deputy Prime Minister have come to full terms with what has happened or what is happening. The Honorable Sam Basil was my Deputy Prime Minister. He was the second in command to our country's executive government at the time of his untimely and tragic passing. The Honorable Basil was an exceptional member of Parliament, having served his home electorate with distinction for 3 unbroken terms. In the 15 years of his service to our country as a member of Parliament, he rose from the opposition ranks to be Deputy Opposition Leader, and he also rose from the government ranks to be Deputy Prime Minister. Only a few in PNG politics can claim to have achieved these benchmarks. He became leader of Papua Party and paved the way for me to be leader after Gibson Samuel when he left the party. And he formed his own political party. And for me, and I take this time to pause, from the class of 2007, I was reminded last night by the Honorable Paul's Papa in the House Choir. It was 5 of us that remained since 2007, or entered since 2007. Governor Pakop sits amongst us, the Honorable Bellanamas sits amongst us, the Honorable Charles Abel, and myself. We all have, in our own way, became contributors to what our country is today. For in the last 15 years, the 5 of us have played a role to support our country's cause. Well, one of the five has left. Four of us still remain in active politics. The Honorable Basil was a strong leader who did things his own way. And like many of us who have emerged through the rough and tumbles of the rural hinterlands of our country, or the rural outbacks of our country, our simple rural upbringings have always caused us to fight for the rights of our rural people, our simple people. The Honorable St. Basil is an epitome of such leadership. No wonder why the Wow and Bulolo people have been closest to his heart, and they have been also keeping him close to their hearts. Indeed, the Honorable St. Basil's upbringing in the rural areas has in every way in shape and form influenced his leadership. He worked tirelessly for our country, and a special forte of him. And maybe the thread that bonded me and many of this generation of leadership is to share the love of development to not just the urbanites and urban few, but more importantly to the rural majority. And that is where the Honorable St. Basil came from, that is where I came from. He had grit and was relentless in his drive to ensure politics or impediments in our system did not get into the way of doing what must be done for our people, even at the expense of protocols that is befitting of our Deputy Prime Minister. If it meant breaking protocols to get things done himself, he broke protocols to get things done. That was maybe one of the reasons why he chose to drive back to women that fateful evening instead of allowing his protocols and his officers to drive the car. I recall in our context as leaders in this present government, there was an instant when we also broke protocol. I was driving, he was on the side. The Honorable Prime Minister was on the side when we drove back to Leh from Baroka. One morning, very early, getting up at 4 o'clock, and he was telling me, brother, you can drive, I drive, let's go. We forgot, we were Prime Minister and Deputy Prime Minister, all in one vehicle together. I remember when I visited him after we restored government, when he came back from Panama and decided to join me again. And he asked me to visit him in his brown villages as true Melanesian leaders, needing reconciliation and needing togetherness, arrived in this village after a program in Wow. Well, I don't take peaks, but he said, brother, you have to ignore the fact that you're a Seventh Adventist. Well, sometimes you must take peaks for me, and he arranged peaks in his village headquarters. And he said, sorry for moving to Marape, and we embraced the presence of his people. The Honorable Don Rosso was with us at night when we drove up the mountains, leaving that site at 5 o'clock or 5:30 in the evening. We drove 3 hours up 2,000 meters up the Blue Mountains into Marcos village. At 10 o'clock in the night, he switched on power for the first time to Marcos village, and he said, brother, this is what we are talking about, giving electricity to rural Papua New Guineans, to the Marcos village people. God bless you, your member had you in his heart. When we drove up, forgetting that he was Prime Minister, he was Deputy Prime Minister, and I was Prime Minister, he drove and I sat, and we drove one-way street out Marcos. And we drove back in mud and rain and slippery village. He drove and I was at his side, knowing that he is a very experienced driver in rural PNG. He drove and slept in his Sagaya village. I experienced his warm hospitality, cooking, state. for me in his village. That was our Deputy Prime Minister, ignoring the fact that he was Deputy Prime Minister working in the kitchens to save his compatriot in the business of working for our country. I also remember a time when he drove me again, breaking protocols. And I miss all the protocols in our country. So we are simple Papua New Guinean village boys who rose up to be where we are today, so that our people and our children can live in a better country than what we are living in today. And they said, brother, I'm going to drive you this time again on my wow and all the roads. We went and said farewell to his mother in the house at Mumeng. He drove me himself. In the night, our brother John Ross came at the back, telling him, slow down, Lay is not going to run away with it Lay anytime in the night. He was truly an enigma in every sense in politics, but he maintained touch with his simple people, doing what every leader must do, saving what matters most. And home to his family and mother and his tribe and his electorate, to his province, beloved province of Moresby, and to our country, beloved country of Papua New Guinea. May his patience for rural empowerment, giving roads, giving electricity, giving classrooms, building houses, empowering them in agriculture and forestry, and commerce and trade, live on in the hearts of those of us who are here, witnessing his final moments as he passes on. And I'd like to conclude by saying to the family, I have no words to comfort you, my children. I never saw this moment happening. We lived and were planning to leave and form government again. So Tuesday night when I talked to him last, I just want to read some words from his text with me. He flew in back from May Tuesday. He sent some text messages and I was to have met with him that night. Tuesday, 10th of May, Prime Minister and my brother, I will be in Port tonight and back late tomorrow. If there is any chance to catch up with you, let me know. And I said, sorry, okay bro, sorry, I've been very busy, flat out today. I'll find some time later tonight. He says, yes, Prime Minister. I replied, and he said, yes, Prime Minister, I'm sorry to disturb you. And I said, brother, can big plus something, not about it. And then he texted me, brother, I have confidence in your leadership. You will get the call to form government. We will all rally behind you, and that's my commitment. I'm still focused on our coalition, and I will not lose sight. And the second text, the same line, and he said, whenever you are campaigning in Finsofen and let me know, I will join you. So those of you who are members of Finsofen and Lay, please don't forget that he had you in his mind. I said, we had declared public support already, and we would work side by side. Because I was busy, it was 8:39 by then. I said, brother, you here tomorrow? Who asked to catch up? And he said, no, brother, I will head back on the earliest flight. There are many issues to attend to. I said, okay, we meet, or I send someone across to see you if later tonight I'm busy. That's around 9 o'clock in the evening. Okay, brother, let me know at least I can catch up with you. I am still meeting my executives of the party. That's about 9 o'clock when it takes us back. And in the morning at 5:55, for those who think politicians are earning big pay and not doing much work, when we sleep at 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock in the morning, and we wake up at 4 o'clock in the morning at 5:55, He texts me AM in the morning. Brother PM, thank you. I've followed up with who I need to catch up. Thank you for sending Brother Larson to me. I'm heading back to Lane this morning. We catch up next week. Cheers and God bless. And sends a text later, so also as well, we all heading back. 9:20 that evening I said, bro, had you had an accident? After I was informed, I knew he always speaks up. He's a very careful man. I said, bro, I had you in an accident. Never did he respond to my text. That was the last time we communicated. Brothers and sisters, my people of our country, Governor General and your wife, Papua New Guinea and my children, the Honorable Sir Basil speaks to us from the grave. Death does not count, whether you're the highest in every structure, or you're from the village, or you are the witches, or you, whatever you are. Death is only a moment away to each and every one of us. He had lived his life to the fullest. Unfortunately, as Ecclesiastes chapter 3 says, there is a season for everything. In verse 2 it says, there is a time to be born and a time to die. We never thought our Deputy Prime Minister would die in this manner. We're still thinking it is still a bad dream. I just want to offer my consolation, firstly, to the children. If there was any debt you would learn from, in terms of resilience, working hard, ending your life, living through the storm smiling. I saw that in the Honorable Sir Basil, and I know it would have learned from the Father. I know it's hard in these sort of moments to draw from the scripture. But if there is any one place I could point you, the children, to go and find comfort on the feet of the cross of Calvary. To the family of the Honorable Sir Basil, thank you for giving him, dear Mama, thank you for giving him a life of service to our country. Your son has served your country well. To the people of our world, thank you for giving him to us for 15 years. He has served our country well. And to the people of Marape, you continue to produce public service, continue to produce church leaders, and you continue to produce national leaders. Thank you to the great Marape. To the people of our country, let me say thank you once again. This is one of the big moments in our country. It may not be as big as the passing of the great Grand Chief of our country, but this is still big. Never in our 46 years, going 47 now, our Deputy Prime Minister of our country has died in office. This is the first time. We have no protocols for such and more. And I just want to thank every one of us who are the length and breadth of our country for the love and care we've given to the Honorable Sir Basil, his family, his people, and Marape, and his party. Thank you, Papua New Guinea. Especially policemen who have died to all the policemen. Thank you, everyone. Thank you too much. All the big man Mary, you stand up for late this morning. You cry yet for blessed on house land of Wakulolo and Moresby. You cry right across the country. You know the big man Mary, planning time people, members of parliament have failed big man in the midst of trying to do work for you, but you still protect and preserve our democracy by respecting leadership. Thank you to the elect and brother of our country for loving the Honorable Sir Basil and respecting him in this manner. And to the people of Moresby for loving him and respecting him in this manner. And to the people of Basil, we stand united in knowing that a fine son of this country has been called to rest. Sir Basil, my brother, Ali, rest now, and be the Lord. God bless.
Thank you, Prime Minister.